We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Ave Maria Stella Dei Mater Alma Atque semper Virgo Felix te porta.
Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you are. Just wanted to read a little snippet from the Catholic newspaper, which the Transalpine Redemptorists give. It's a quarterly newspaper you subscribe to. It's got great stuff in it. I mean, here's from the pen of Robert Southwell. The photos that they give are in high def. This is all on Saint Teresa right there. Solid stuff in here, and it's as one priest that's with them. I mentioned it's like, hey, someone bought me the website, what am I going to put on there? I got videos. They stick with piety. So the website is basically based on their newspaper, sticking with piety. No drama, no nothing. So much drama in the LBC. I'm tired of being Snoop D-O, DOBG. Anyways, this is a thing called Charity Towards Our Priests. And it's a little quick snippet over here on the left side, and you see all the things in here. True or false humility. Again, there's all kinds of different, the Lordship, Nicholas Heath, all kinds of different stuff in here. You got to subscribe to it. They also have the only Purgatorian Archconfraternity on the back you can subscribe to. That way you can have the next few generations, your family in the Purgatorian Archconfraternity. They'll pray for you when you go up. And also they have Mothers in Distress. They give you a relic of St. Gerard. Just ask for it. They just ask for you to send something about a snippet of the kids. Anyways, a little pitch for the subscribing. It's on the back. You go to their website. I'll have the link underneath in the show notes as well. So again, title's Charity Towards Our Priests. And it's an advice from an old book. Quote, in all your dealings with your pastor, try to keep in mind the fact that he is a very busy man. Make allowances for him if he does not do all that you think he should, or when you think he should. If a letter or email or telephone, they put email in because they updated, because they didn't have email back then, obviously, or telephone message does not bring forth the response you would like, remember that it probably lost out to a dozen more pressing duties. Follow it up with a personal call at the rectory. Be friendly and brief. Keep the rectory telephone number listed where anyone can easily find it, whether they know your family habits or not. In an emergency, such as sudden serious illness or accident, do not hesitate to call the rectory at any time. Your pastor is anxious to give extreme unction wherever it is required. But in any case where a member of your family suffers an illness which puts him in proximate danger of death, it is thoughtless to wait until some late night crisis to call your pastor to administer extreme unction rather than to call in the daylight hours. Make all ordinary business calls to the rectory for an appointment, etc., during what are regarded as the business hours of the day. Try not to disturb the pastor during meals or in his evening hours. Notify your pastor whenever a member of your family is in the hospital so that he may call on the sick person. If you do not tell him of the illness, your pastor has no way of knowing it. Notify your pastor if you have a sick or aged person in your home so that he may bring him Holy Communion regularly. Avoid all idle criticism of the way your pastor performs his duties, the administration of church and school, intellectual content of his sermons, personal habits, mannerisms, and idiosyncrasies. Your pastor is a human being, prone to all the weaknesses and frailties of other human beings. Unlike many of us, he is trying to do his best at all times. If his best is in some respect not good enough, in your opinion, help him if you can. If you cannot help in any other way, do so by failing to criticize. This short paragraph is worth thinking about. And the title of it is If. If the pastor preaches over 10 minutes, he's long-winded. If his sermon is short, he didn't prepare it. If the parish funds are low, he's a poor businessman. If he mentions money, he's money mad. If he owns a car, he's worldly. If he doesn't, he's too late for sick calls. If he visits his parishioners, he's nosy. If he doesn't, he's being snobbish. If he has fairs and bazaars, he's bleeding the people. If he doesn't, there isn't enough social life in the parish. If he takes time in confession to help advise sinners, he's too long. If he doesn't, he's not a good advisor. If he starts Mass on the minute, his watch is fast. If he starts Mass late, he's holding up the congregation. If he redecorates the church, he's spending too much money. If he doesn't, he's letting it get run down. If he's young, he's not experienced. If he's old, he should be retired. To this, one might add, if he is businesslike and capable, he is not humble. If he is pious and retiring, he is too unsophisticated. Not humble seems to be the charge parishioners hurl about when they dislike their pastor but have no valid reason for doing so. Humility seems an odd virtue. Only priests are supposed to have it. One never hears a lawyer or doctor accused of lacking humility. Pray for your pastor at all times. This is help you can always give, and which he always needs. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, through our Lord Jesus Christ and by the charity of the Holy Ghost, that you help me in your prayers for me to God. Romans 15:30. Here's a few books you might want to get. Two of them are out of print. I think all three of them may be. Catholic Priest by Father Michael Mueller. Fantastic book. Father Mueller writes, he's just a great author anyways. Funny that everything's redemptorist oriented. Anyway, get that book, The Catholic Priest. Like I said, it's just beautiful on what a priest is and some stories behind it. There's one about the priest that got shot by a guy in the French Revolution, and nobody would come to him on his deathbed. The guy that ended up shooting the priest down the road about 10 years later is dying, and nobody would come to him except for this one priest. And it ended up being him, and he told him, so years ago, he pulled out, he still had the scar, and he showed him the scar. And it's just, beautiful story that he writes on forgiveness and contrition, because he ended up saying sorry for shooting him basically. And Dignities and Duties of the Priest by Alphonsus. I'm sure most people have heard of it. It's for priests, but laymen can find great fruit in that by the virtues that he brings up. Like humility. There's just some great stuff about humility in there, obviously, which a lot of that you can take to yourself and in your state of life. So it's not just for priests, even though a friend, a priest friend of mine said, never give that book to a seminarian because they'll leave the seminary. So get the book. That's a great gift for a newly ordained priest. Because he's already a priest, he's not getting out of it. But they say don't buy it for a seminarian. You might scare them. But really, it's a tremendous book. So you don't have to be a priest to read it, but it's a great book and great gift for priests. And kind of off topic, but not, St. John Climacus, The Ladder of Divine Ascent. It's for monks, but again, you could write that for priests. And there's some good advice for priests in there too. It talks about one is the fear of kind of like how we are. I mean, in the sense of you don't want to be a cult-like following, or you don't want to have people just loving the priest just because he's a celebrity. But he talks about that, the priest kind of risking it, but without looking for that, and being able to be disciplined enough not to fall for the celebrity style. I mean, Sheen fell for it. He talks about how towards the end of his lecture series, he was looking for the applause, and he regrets that part. He was smart enough and humble enough to figure that out. But he talks about that. I think it's in chapter 2, I think. And Father Abernathy is doing a long series. It's on the it's on the YouTube channel, and I linked to his podcast. So if you want to get ahead of the game, you can go to his podcast, and he's got many more in the Church Fathers and things like that on his website. But yeah, get that. It's for, like I said, it's for monks, but laity, terrific for laity. Just listen to one that we unlocked last Sunday, and it mentions about exile and the extremes of exile. And one question was brought up about marriage, and goes, you could think of exile as marriage. You've left everyone else for her or him or whoever, if you're a wife, and for your wife or for your husband. And these are the things that we need to start focusing more on, to grow in more piety. Stop worrying about church politics. There's nothing you can change about that anyways, but you can pray for your priest as your pastor there. There's a prayer, and I'll link it in the show notes as well with everything else. I try to say every time about the prayer for priest communion. May just you can make a generic prayer. May you rest gently in Father's soul. Make him become a saint. Make him holy, humble, courageous. Give him the gift of fortitude, etc. Make him bring tradition back to your area. Things like that. Say a prayer for the priest every time he has communion. Instead of trashing him or talking bad about him, pray for him more. Anyways, I saw this, and I wanted to do this a couple of weeks ago, but I ended up getting a little sick the last couple of weeks, so I put this off. And here's the website for the Catholic newspaper. It's an easy one. Catholic, papastronce.com, Publications Catholic. Again, it'll be in the show notes. As it says, our newspaper, Catholic, began life in 1982 as a lay publication for traditionalist Catholics managed by Mr. Don McLean of Melbourne, Australia. The Redemptorists inherited a publication from Mr. McLean when he retired in 2000. The paper contains many devotional articles and stories about Catholic history and saints, as well as current news for those who love traditional liturgy. And I promise you, this is the best Catholic newspaper that is out there. And again, it's put together by monks, traditional Catholic Redemptorist monks trying to spread the faith, convert souls, win piety, grow piety, and make your hearts aflamed with fire. So I would recommend every household get it. I mean, it's just like I said, it's a beautifully done newspaper. Articles are fantastic. There's nothing I've never wanted to read in it. It's always something that's interesting. Old school or new school, and they start out with current events throughout the world, and then they bring in everything else afterwards. So, and remember, I always keep forgetting to do this because I'm not used to doing that, is click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, all that stuff, all that jazz. And yes, please support us on there, because Google will probably never monetize this channel ever again. And in some ways, that's a lot of freedom in that. So please help support the channel so you don't have to worry about Google ever again. Go to the donation site. We got all the places you can need to, or P.O. Box, PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribe Star, and others. So if you don't like one, there's others there for you. God love you. Have a great rest of the day.